Welcome to another crochet tutorial with Cosy Rosie UK. Now today I'm going to be showing you how you can crochet your very own Bella bralette, and this is sized using your actual bra band measurement and your bra cup size, so that you can guarantee that this is going to fit very well and give you medium coverage where you most need it. So the sizes that this pattern is written for and available for in full on my website is size extra small, which is a 28 to 30 inch bust, all the way through to a 5XL, which is a 60 to 62 inch bust. Now this pattern is worked in a number of sections. It starts with the bra band, then we make the cups and we add on both a halter neck and some ties at the back. So it makes it more adjustable for when you're wearing it, so you can make the most of it. And you can see that these cups are teardrop shaped so that it allows to actually support your, as in when you need that support. So before we get started, let's hit that subscribe button and of course the notification bell. If you enjoy this video, I would love for you to give it a thumbs up too, so that more people can make their very own Bella bralette. Now materials wise, what you're going to need is some DK weight cotton. So this is a size 3 cotton and it is 100% cotton as well. This is great for wearing, not necessarily if you're going to go swimming, because obviously cotton does absorb water, but if you're just sunbathing or you're just looking for a pretty top for a festival, this is absolutely perfect. You can perhaps go for a cotton blend if you want to be able to actually wear it for swimming, other than just for looking pretty. Then I would go for a cotton acrylic blend that will reduce the amount of water that's absorbed. You could make it in 100% acrylic, but it's not going to be very nice to wear in the heat. So yeah, I've used Paintbox cotton, and this is shade Candy Floss Pink, shade number 450. You're going to need 2 different hook sizes for this one. You're going to need a 3.5mm hook, and you also need a 4mm crochet hook. Ideally, you would like some locking stitch markers just to hold things in place when we're joining on, and a darning needle. That's literally everything we need to make one of these, depending on which size you are making. So for, obviously it's very dependent because all the cup sizes are different and use a different amount of yarn. Any size that you're going to make is going to need no more than a total of kind of 3 balls, which would be roughly about 300 meters, 350 meters, absolute maximum of 100% cotton. Oh, in yards. Oh, I don't do yards, hang on. Whatever that is times 3, maximum, absolute maximum. Because it doesn't actually use a lot, because the bra band is just a couple of inches wide, but it goes right underneath the bust, ready to support you with these lovely teardrop shaped cups. So gather all your materials and let's get started. So we're going to start by making our bra band, and these are based on the under bust measurement. So depending on what your under bust measurement is, will depend on your starting chain. This is worked in one long row. Now the backed closing for the bra band is just simply a tie. So the actual measurement of the finished bra band is up to 2 inches smaller than your measurement. So if your measurement is 28 to 30 inches, you're going to start with a chain of 102. If you have a measurement of 32 to 34, your starting chain is going to be 122. 36 inches to 38 inches is going to be 132. 40 to 42, another 10 on, we are doing, oh no, so 40 to 42, you're going to be having a starting chain of 152, and then 44 to 46, you're going to have a starting chain of 162. 48 to 50, you're going to have 182 as your starting chain, and then 52 to 54 inch under bust is going to be 192 starting chain. And then for 56 to 58, your starting chain is going to be 212, and then 60 to 62 inches is going to have a starting chain of 232. As I said, that will make the final measurement just under kind of 1.5 to 2 inches smaller than your actual under bust measurement. That would allow for some stretch, because this will stretch naturally. The style of the fabric or the cotton that we're using and the way that it's worked, it will have some give in the end product should I say. So I've made an allowance for that. And of course you can tighten it with the tie at the back. So go ahead and make the chain for the size that you're making. I'm going to be making a 34-inch bust. So I'm going to start with a chain of 122. So make your chain and I'll meet you ready for our first row. So I have my chain here for a 32 to 34-inch bust. It's not for me, don't worry, my bust is a little bit bigger than that. But this is a chain of 122 chains. Now the stitch multiple for this is 10 stitches. That's for the flame stitch at the bottom of the bra band. So if you do want to change your starting chain, just add or subtract 10 chains on to this stage before we continue. We're going to go into row 1, and this is the wrong side of our pattern. That becomes apparent in a little bit, but just so you know. And we're simply going to start by working 1/2 double crochet into the second chain from hook. So remember that this loop on our hook never counts. There's number 1, mine's already getting smaller, and here is number 2 next to that. So we're going to yarn over the hook, and I'm going to recommend that you flip your chain over and work into these little back bumps, because this row here is going to become the top of our bra band. We want it to look as pretty as possible, and this is a really quick way to work a neat looking start to your project. So you can see a little bit further down that these back bumps are much clearer, and as you work them they become clearer still, but to find that first one can almost feel a little bit tricky. So when we flip that chain over, there's the first back bump, there is the second one. You see how it almost pops up if I put my finger underneath. So we're going to yarn over the hook and insert our hook into that second back bump. It's a little bit more fiddly, but it is worth it. And then we just yarn over to bring up our loop as normal for our 1/2 double crochet. That's a US 1/2 double crochet, UK 1/2 treble crochet. And then we pull through all 3 loops. We're going to repeat that all the way down. So we've just worked into this loop here. Here is our next back bump. So we just insert our hook under just the back bump, yarn over to bring our loop up, yarn over to pull through all 3. We continue that all the way down to the beginning of our starting chain, just working into those back bumps. You might find it easy to turn your hook just to pick up that one loop at the back. If you get lost and you can't find where it is, as you would work your normal chain, just give it a tug, and then you can see over from the other side that you've got your normal V's, and you're just looking for that back bump in the next V to work into. You can see I kind of cheat. I use my nail to make sure that it doesn't split the loop. But if you take a moment just to look at the top of your work, you can see that you've already got a perfect edge from where you did your starting chain. For those of you that do know how to do your 1/2 double foundation or chainless foundation, you can use a chainless foundation as opposed to your chain and then working this row. So that would replace row 1 if you wanted to work a chainless foundation. I actually find this a little bit quicker just by working into my back bump. I think it's because I just cannot count when I'm doing my chainless foundation, and I find it quicker just to count all the way making my chain. So continue all the way down to the end of, or the start of your chain, working 1/2 double crochet into the back bump of each chain, and I'll meet you at the end of row 1 to continue into row 2. So once you've completed your first row, and you can see you've got that beautiful edge top and bottom, so that's going to now be the top edge of your bralette. Going into row 2 and 3, these are both the same. So we start with a chain 1, and that does not count, but we're going to turn our work, and we're simply going to work 1/2 double crochet into each stitch across the row, and we're going to do exactly the same for row 3. So we're going to do this twice. So we simply place 1/2 double crochet into the top of each stitch all the way to the end. Your stitch count should remain unchanged at the end of row 2, And then for row 3, we just do the same again. So we chain 1 and work 1 half double crochet into each stitch across. So continue to work rows 2 and 3 with 1 half double crochet into each stitch across, and I'll meet you back for row 4 when we start the beautiful lacy element to this pattern, and I will see you in a moment. So at the end of row 3, 1, 2, 3, you should still have the same stitch count you had at the end of row 1. And we're going to go into row 4, which is the start of our lacy pattern. So we're going to start with a chain 1, and we're going to turn working back along the row. And this is a nice kind of pattern, but it's easy to get confused whilst you're working it. So once we've done our chain 1, we're going to single crochet, which is a US single crochet, into the first stitch directly underneath that chain, because that chain 1 did not count as a stitch. We're then going to chain 3. We just yarn over hook, pull through, 1, yarn over the hook, pull through, 2, and for a third time, yarn over the hook and pull 3. That gives us a chain of 3. And we're going to skip the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to single crochet into that 4th stitch along. So here's where we've already worked. We've got 1, 2, 3 that we're skipping. And then we're going to insert our hook and single crochet into that next stitch. It creates like a little window there. We're then going to chain 3 again. So yarn over the hook and pull through 3 times. And this time we just skip 1 stitch and single crochet into the next. There's our single crochet, and that creates a little space, but it kind of goes up. We're then going to chain 3 again. So 1, 2, and 3. And this time we skip 3 again. So 1, 2, 3, single crocheting into that next stitch along. And that is our pattern repeat for this row. So we're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, single crochet into the next, and we chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we skip 1, single crocheting into the next, and we chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, single crochet into the next. We're going to continue to repeat that by working a chain 3, skip 3, single crochet into the next, chain 3, skip 1, single crochet, chain 3, skip 3, single crochet. Repeat that all the way down to the end of this row, and you should end with a single crochet in the end and a big window just before it. Okay, so work all the way across, making sure that you've got 2 big windows and a small window, 2 big windows and a small window. And I'll meet you at the end of row 4 to do the really fun row, which is row 5. So at the end of row 4, we are going to double check that we have the right sized chain spaces where we need them. So I'm going all the way back to the beginning. I will tell you the truth, it took me 2 attempts to get this right. So you should have big, little, big, big, little, big, big, little, big, big, little, big, etc, etc, all the way up to the very last 10 stitches where you should have big, little, big. Now that is going to become really important. You might have the right number of chain spaces, but you need to make sure that they are the right size, because the next bit is the lacy bit. And we're going to jump straight into that. Going into row 5, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. We are going to single crochet into the same stitch that we just chained 1 into to turn. So we're just going to work 1 single crochet, and then we're going to work a chain 1. We're going to skip this first chain space and work into the little chain space. So for here, we're going to yarn over the hook, insert the hook into that smaller chain 3 space, yarn over, bring a loop up. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2, but stop there because we're going to do a DC 2 together cluster. So to complete that, we yarn over the hook again and reinsert the hook into that same chain space, yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over, pull through those first 2 loops, leaving 3 loops on your hook, and yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And that creates our DC 2 together cluster stitch, or a 2 DC cluster, known as different things, but effectively we're working 2 double crochets together with just 1 stitch in one space, all in the 1 chain space. Now we're going to make the equivalent of 5 little petals into this 1 chain space, and in between there's going to be a chain 3. So we're going to do a chain 3 now. So that's yarn over hook and pull through 1, 2 and 3, and then we're going to work back into that same chain space again, working another 2 double crochet cluster. So we yarn over the hook, insert into the same chain space, yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over, pull through 2, leave those 2 loops on the hook. We're going to yarn over again and reinsert into the same chain 3 space. We yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over and pull through 2. That leaves those 3 loops on the hook for us to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. We're then going to do that again by working 1, 2, 3 chains and working a further 2 double crochet cluster. So we yarn over, insert, yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over again, reinsert our hook, yarn over, bring our loop up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. So that's 1, 2, 3. We're going to work a further 2 double crochet clusters into that same chain 3 space with a chain 3 in between. And once we've done that, we have our first little flower. Now after we've worked that last 2 double crochet cluster, instead of doing the chain 3, we just do a chain 1, and then we're going to single crochet on top of the single crochet in between those chain spaces. So we're just going to insert our hook into that chain space and work another single crochet. And that kind of angles down this kind of shell stitch that we're creating. Anchors down. Did I say anchors or angles? I'm not sure. Let's do another one together. So we're going to chain 1, and then we're straight into that smaller chain 3 space where we've just skipped 1 stitch, and we're going to work those 5 double crochet clusters into this same space. So we yarn over hook, insert, yarn over, bring up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. We stop there, we yarn over again, insert into the same chain space, yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the 3 remaining loops. We're then going to chain 3, and then we're going to continue to work into that same chain space, working 4 more 2 double crochet clusters with that chain 3 in between. Just checking how many I've gone. So this is the final one for me in this flame or shell, whatever you want to call it. And then we're ready to move on. So just have another little look at that. You can see that you've got your 2 shells or your 2 flame stitches there, and we're simply going to do a chain 1 after that final cluster stitch, and then we single crochet into that single crochet from the previous row, just as we would normally. Chain 1 to move across to that next chain space, and we're going to repeat that all the way along. So we've done our chain 1, we're going to work our 5 double crochet clusters with a chain 3 in between, chain 1, and then we single crochet into that next single crochet space. So we're working across the two big and into the little, if that makes sense. So we've got those two big, that big space, we're going to work into the little space, and then we skip the big space. So continue to repeat that all the way down, and that will complete row 5, so you can fasten off. So once you've completed your 5th row, the side that you've just worked on, so when you finished with this one, this is your right side of your pattern. So keeping the prettiest of the lace towards you, which is this side here. You shouldn't need to block it, but if you do need to, just kind of make your stitches stick where you want them to be. Give it a light block now, weave in any ends, and then we can quickly add on our ties on. We're going to do that together now. So once you've woven in your ends, we're going to add on our tie chains, which add on that you can tie together to join the two ends. Before we join the yarn, you need to make sure that the right side of the project is is facing you. So this is the wrong side. You can see that you've got the back side of the stitches showing. This is the side that we want facing us. And then we're going to be using 2 strands of yarn to make these ties. So I've literally using one ball, one with the center pull yarn and the other that's coming out from around the ball, and pulled a little bit of yarn off. And we're going to insert our hook into that first stitch from our chain. And then we just place the yarn over our hook, tail yarn at the back, just bring that through. Might be a bit tight. Yep, she says not pulling it through. Whereas also you've got 2 loops on your hook. Now I'm still using my 4mm hook for this. And we are going to simply work a chain 1 and continue to chain for a total of 60 to create this strap. So that's 1, 2, 3. So once you've worked your chain of 60, you can fasten off your 2 strands and just pull through to tighten the knot on your final strand. We can then weave these ends in because we don't want them hanging out at the end of that chain. We want it to look all neat and tidy. So pop both ends through your darning needle, and we're simply going to work it through the back bumps of the chain a few times, not pulling too tightly. We don't want to make the chain any tighter than it actually is. We're just going to neatly work through kind of the center of the chain without pulling too tightly. Go through 1, you can go through 2 loops, you can go, however, I'm taking my time and trying to make this as neat as possible because I don't want it to be that noticeable. And doing your ends like this will create a little bit of weight on the bottom of the loops, so they kind of weigh down the ends there. Now working back up again, we're going to work through different stitches, or even through the middle if you want to. Oh, if I get through my needle through any of them, that'd be good. This chain is a lot tighter than your normal starting chain because we've used 2 strands. Obviously you have to go back through a different loop and just keep repeating that all the way back up to the end so that we've woven those ends in good and properly, and then we can fasten those last stragglers off. So I can just snip those now, and you can see that it's not really that noticeable. And once that end's gone, no one's going to really notice that, and you can do the same at the other end. So we need to make 2 of our bra cups. Now these are based on bra sizes, so you can see that it is literally a triangle, and once it's attached, it's going to create that beautiful teardrop shape that the majority of us have when it comes to our bust, and it's going to attach onto the band, creating a cup that's going to have some area for the fullness of the breast as well. Now I'm going to insert the size chart here for you because there are 3 different sizes of bra cup, and it's all based on the starting chain. Now you may have read in various places your chain length needs to come up to your nipple height. That's all well and good until you get to certain sizes, because you can end up with a starting chain, depending on where your where their placement is. Your starting chain can be as long as that, but you might also want some width on your cup as well. So these cups are actually designed to come to, I'm going to kind of indicate where it comes to. Much like a real bra, it should cover the side boob area. If you don't want it to cover the side boob area, that is entirely your choice, but you can play around with this pattern to get it to the size that you want it to be. All of them have been factored in for the number of rows that you need to do and how many stitches you have to attach them to the bra band size. So as you can see on this chart, there are 3 size groups. So have a look through and find your bra size and the bra band size, and then look for your cup size to find the corresponding cup that you're going to make, or the size group that your cup falls into. Just for indication, I have made the smallest bra cup just so we can go through the pattern together, and obviously I'm going to make a pair and attach them onto my band here for you. So this is actually a 34A, which is going to be attached to the bra band, and you can see where the starting chain is, and you can see that there are the chain 1 spaces. Now what we've done, rather than carry on using our 4mm hook, we're going to drop down to our 3.5mm hook, continuing with our DK weight yarn, because this is going to make those stitches a little bit tighter, give us a little bit more stability in the pattern that we're making, but there's still a bit of stretch for you to be comfortable in this top as well. So double check the chart that you're making the right size, or the size group for your bra band and cup size. In the description box you'll find one of the chapters is to have a look at the size groups, and you can just link back, just click on there and it will take you back to where this chart is being shown again. So let's get our 3.5mm hook and some yarn, and let's run through making. So I'm going to be making size group 1. If your size, so we're going to start with a chain of 7 for size group 1. If you're in size group 2, you are going to need to make a chain of 5. And if you're in size group 3, you'll need to make a chain of 11. So with these sizes, I've done them a bit oddly because it's just the way the chain gets bigger. So this is a size group 1. So you've got a medium kind of length chain and a medium amount of rows, with the width increasing depending on, well, this actually goes for all of them. So all of the cup sizes are based on the starting chain, and depending on the cup size would depend on the number of rows that you will do for that cup. Now obviously the bigger, or the bigger the bra measurement, the longer number of rows you're going to need to give you the coverage of your cup sizes. As I said, you can try out one of these cups, and if you're not happy with how it's going to look, you can obviously opt to try one of the other sizes. So with the group 1, it's kind of middle of the road. Obviously this is based for a 34A, so with the B it will get longer, just get a bit wider and taller, because we're adding more rows which add height, and we're adding more rows either side which does increase the width. If you're looking for a shorter cup, you just want the kind of what I would call the 90s fashion, which is actually very in fashion at the moment. So you want that short cup with minimal coverage at the side, you want to see that side boob. I would recommend that you go for size group 2, and then kind of look at the number of rows that you'll need to give you the coverage that you want. Now obviously all of this is complete preference, especially when we get to joining these cups onto the bra band. If you're making for yourself, you can of course try on. If you're looking to reposition them, you can of course. This is all about what's going to be comfortable for you to wear and give you confidence to wear as well. So as I said, I'm going to be making size group 1, and I'm aiming to make a 34A, so 32 to 34A, and I'm going to be starting with my 3.5mm hook, and I'm going to make a chain of 7. So anyone in size group 1 should do a chain of 7, anyone in size group 2 should make a chain of 5, and anybody in size group 3 should make a chain of 11. It's a glorious day here, and the church bells are going to be ringing, and you're going to hear them, I'm afraid, because my window is open because it's too warm otherwise. This is a perfect make for this kind of weather. So whichever size chain you've got, we're all going to work into the 4th chain from hook. So we're going to yarn over the hook and then count down. Remember, this one doesn't count. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. We're going to double crochet under one side of our chain. So we yarn over the hook, insert our hook into that 4th chain from hook, yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. In this instance, this chain 3 does count as a stitch for all sizes. We're then going to work 1 double crochet into each stitch of the chain until we get to that last chain. So for the size 1 group, we have 2 further chains to work into. That's 1 and 2. Remember, if you do want to check out the written pattern, you can find that link below in the description box and head over straight to my website where the full pattern is written there for you. So into this last chain, this is for all sizes, we're going to work 2 double crochets. That's 1 and 2. We then chain 1. And then we're going to work back down the side. Now the reason I'm turning my yarn here is I want to try and work over the knot of our starting chain, because this will prevent the hole getting too big. So I'm going to kind of place my yarn over the knot and gather it around. So that's 1. And again, we're going to work another one into that same last chain, so that in the end of our chain, we have 1, 2, double crochets, a chain 1 and 2 double crochets, and then we're going to work back down the side of our chain. If you want, you don't have to work over this end here. What you can do, if I show you on this one, you see how you've got that initial hole, you can use your tail to kind of close that hole, but the holes are actually part of the design. It's just how we get our triangles. So we're going to work back down the side of that chain. Again, this is for all sizes, it's just the number of stitches we have to work. And we're literally going to work opposite the stitches that we've already done. So this is our end here. And then we're going to work into that next chain, right underneath that last stitch that we made, working another double crochet. And we continue to work a double crochet into each chain down on the other side of our chain. And then we're also going to place 1 double crochet into the bottom of that starting chain 3, and that will finish our row. I'll try and make sure I pick up 2 of those loops from that starting chain of 3. Of course, I should have yarned over, shouldn't I? There we go. So that's that final double crochet. Turn it back around for you. We can do a bit of a count. So for size 1, we should have a stitch count of 12 and our little chain 1 space. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, chain 1, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. For the size group 2, you should have a total stitch count of 8 and your chain 1 space in the middle. And for size 3, you should have a stitch count of 20 with your chain 1 in the middle as well. So going into row 2, we're going to start by making a chain 2. So 1 and 2, and then I'm going to turn my work. If you've already turned, don't worry, it's not a problem. And then this does not count as a stitch. It's just kind of giving us a little bit more firmness along the border of our cup. So we're going to yarn over and insert our hook into the same stitch we just chained out of and work our first double crochet. You can see that gives it a bit of a thicker start to the row. And then we're going to place 1 double crochet into each stitch back to that chain 1 space. There we go. And when we reach that chain 1 space, we're going to work directly into that chain 1 space, working 2 double crochets, and then a chain 1, and then we continue in that chain space working a further 2 double crochets. We're then going to work back down the other side, placing our double crochets into each stitch along. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And what we need to do is also to work into the top of that initial chain 3 that counted as a stitch, because that will just make our stitch count correct and even up our edges. So at the end of row 2, for the size group of 1, we should have 16 double crochets and our chain 1 space. For cup size group 2, you should have a stitch count of 12 and 1 chain space in the middle. And then for size group 3, you should have a total count of 24 double crochets and your chain 1 space. So for row 3 onwards, we're going to work that chain 2, work that that double crochet into the same stitch as our chain 2, double crochet into each stitch up to our chain 1 space, making sure we don't skip any, because I'm very notorious for that. So 2 double crochets into that chain 1 space, a chain 1, and a further 2 double crochets into that chain 1 space. And on the way back down, we're just going to work 1 double crochet into each space, into each stitch, back down to the beginning. And because we worked a chain 2 at the start of row 2 that did not count as a stitch, we don't need to work into the top of it. And there we are, that completes row 3. So rows 4 onwards are going to be, the number of rows you need to do are different depending on the cup size that you are making. I'm going to create a chart that you can look at here to determine how many rows you need to do to achieve your cup size. As I say, this can change depending on the fit that you want of your kind of bra cup, and if you want to have a little bit of side boob on show, just do a few less rows, but you may need to have increased your starting chain to get the coverage that you want. You might not, of course. I think that might be a bit small for most of us, but the smallest cup size would be a starting chain of 5, so that kind of size group 2, and then you could just increase the number of rows that you wanted to get the coverage that you want. So go ahead and complete, if you're making them as written, go ahead and complete 2 bra cups, and I will meet you for the sewing on. So once you've finished both your bra cups and get those ends woven in, we're going to attach them to our bra band. And the easiest way to do this is to find the middle point of your bra band. It doesn't have to be exact maths. What I've done is kind of folded in half and worked out if I'm in the middle of a flame or if I'm just kind of in the middle of no flame. So what I've done is then found the single crochet and kind of followed it up to find the middle stitch. So once you've got your center stitch marked, we're going to work out where our cups are going to finish depending on the bra band size that you made. So for an extra small, so 28 to 30 inch chest, you're going to count out 20 stitches and mark that 20th stitch. So this center stitch is number 1. So we've got 1, 2, 3, all the way down to number 20 and mark that 20th stitch. If you're making a 32 to 34, you need to mark the 22nd stitch. 36 to 38, you're going to mark the 26th stitch. 40 to 42, you're going to mark the 28th stitch. 44 to 46, you're going to mark the 30th stitch. 48 to 50, you'll be marking the 32nd stitch. 52 to 54, you'll be marking the 36th. 56 to 58, you'll be marking the 38th stitch. And then of course, finally, you've got 60 to 62, you're marking the 40th stitch. So go ahead and mark it for one side, then counting out again from the middle, mark the same stitch number across on the other side. So once you've marked all those stitches, we're just going to double check that we have the right side of our project facing us. So I actually had the wrong side showing, so you can see a bit more bobbly on the stitches, and you want that smooth side showing. So this is the right side of the bra band facing us. And then we're going to position our bra cups using these stitch markers. Now, as you can see, my cup is a lot wider than my bra band. So that's absolutely fine. And what I'm going to do is take out that stitch marker, just remembering which stitch it was. I'm going to turn it around. That's how I know I did it on the wrong side. And with the first corner, so you've got your chevron going up, we're just going to place that through that first stitch, not through the bottom of the bra band, but actually that first stitch, because that's where we're going to join. And then we're going to do the same with the center stitch mark. But this time we're going to place it through the first stitch, the first stitch of the other cup. Again, not through the bottom, because we want it to look as neat as possible. So once that's in position, you can see there's a lot of extra cup, but we're going to cinch it in as we sew it. I'll show you how to do that. And we're going to do the same with the other cup as well. There's less sewing as we go around. That goes through there. We need to make sure that these are also facing the right side. So that's facing that right side. And that's the right side of that one. And again, I'm just going through that first stitch and the last stitch with the last stitch marker. So you get a bit of a rough idea of where these cups are going to be placed. If you want to change the positioning of your cups, this is the time to do it. You can put them wherever you want, or if you want them to continue round, but obviously you just need to make sure you've got a bit of material. If you want a bit more of an opening between the two stitches or the two cups at the front, you can change that now as well. For me, this gives kind of good coverage of this area on her bodies, but it also takes the edge of the cup to the kind of edge of the start of the boob, basically. So once you've got that into position, we're going to start sewing. So you're going to need a bit of thread on your needle, or cotton, ideally the same colour. I probably could have used a contrast colour to show you, but I've got quite a lot. I'm going to try and do it all in one go if I can. And what I'm going to do initially is just bring my needle through that marked stitch at the side, making sure that I go through the stitch, not through anything else. Now I'm going to be using the mattress stitch for my bra band and attaching these cups, because to me it gives the best finish. Now normally, again, I wouldn't always tell you to tie, but just for ease for the moment, I'm just going to put a temporary knot there so it's secure and the yarn doesn't move through. Then we can remove this stitch marker out of our way. And what we're going to be doing is I'm going to work with mine facing me like this, because I want to see the edge of this band at the front of this cup. So once we've loosely tied this on, this is only temporary, we're going to weave this end in to secure this end of the bra cup. We can actually start working through both the band and the cup. Now I'm going to work under both loops of each stitch of the bra band and into the middle of that first row, and pull all the way through so it's nice and taut. And I'm going to bring my hook back through the bottom of the row and back through that same stitch we just worked through on the bra band. You can see that it looks like it is going to bunch a little, but we're going to do it nice and neatly. And then we can work back through the next stitch, and again through the bottom of that row we just came out of. I'll try and do it loosely so you can see where these are. So there's the loop, and you can see where that yarn's coming in, it's just there. So this time I'm going to come back out at the bottom of the next row and through that through the same stitch we came in from before. And as you pull that tighter, it cinches the bottom of the cup into position as to where we want it. So again, we just, oh, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, sorry. So I'm going to insert the stitch into the next one and into the bottom of the row. So there you can see our thread where we came out of. So we're going into the next stitch on the bra band and back through that stitch, and we're going across to the bottom of the next row. And then we're going to come back through the stitch we came out of. This will allow, so you can see that thread just there. So we're going to come back out of that stitch. It allows the extra rows to be cinched and for everything to be nice and tight. So into the next stitch, back through that row we just came out of, and skip over to the bottom of the next row. And then we can have a look again to see where that thread is, as to where our needle needs to come back out. I'll make sure I don't knot this because I'm used to doing this left-handed, sorry. And we just repeat that the whole way down the cup until we have no more rows left. And in theory, we should be back to our center stitch. So as you can see, I've actually run out of stitches on this cup, which means that I've gone wrong somewhere, and I think it's this bit here. So I'm not going to shy away from the fact that things go wrong. So let's show, once you've taken your needle off, give your fabric a pull and just pull the joining strand back through. See how that bit's flat? It should be ruched. So that's where I've inserted into the wrong stitch. It happens to the best of us. I'm just going to pull back a little bit so we can see and reattach, because we've got the right number of stitches left. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, perfect number of rows left. I'm just going to rethread and just redo that little section again. So again, just as we started that last one, I'm going to go through that last stitch. Oh, this is the yarn. Hang on. I don't want to create a knot yet. I'm going to create a knot, but I'm just through that first stitch of the actual cup. I'm just going to tighten. There we go. And there we have. They are both attached. I know it's probably not been the easiest thing getting them to fit into that small amount of stitches, but that mattress stitch will get you there. Just take your time and work them. At this point, I would suggest you try it on. At this point, I would suggest that you give your bralette a try on. You can obviously tie up at the back if you've put your strands on before we go ahead and add in our halter neck additions, and make sure that you're happy with it. If you need to position your cups a little bit further out, then you can do at this point before you go any further, and that you're happy with them. Or if you want to take them further round so that you've got more coverage at the side, or you want to move them across. So obviously once you're happy with their positioning, you can fasten off. And literally all I'm going to do is create a knot at the side here to really make sure that they are very secure. And then I'm going to weave this end in at the back of my project by pulling it through and weaving it in very securely. So once we have woven in all of those ends, we're happy with how everything is fitting, we are ready to attach our halter neck. Now I'm going to change back to my 4mm crochet hook. No, I'm not. So once we've fastened in all those ends and we're happy with how everything is fitting, we can work on our halter neck additions. So if you're using, we're going to use 2 strands for these, the same as we did for the tie at the back. So if you have, you know, if like me, you've gone into your second ball, I've got a bit of scrap left from the previous one. So I'm just going to work 2 strands and literally just going to bring that through, both, hopefully. Through, and I'm going to tie them on. That's how I'm joining it. I know it's not right, but it means it's secure, and plus I can control how much I've got ready to sew on at the end. So we're just going to reinsert into the very top peak of our cup to join and to start our chain. And a chain of 80 gives us a little a nice extra bit of chain to kind of create a nice bow width as well. And we're just going to repeat that on the other side as well. So attach the yarn, make a nice chain of 80, and then that's that bit done. We can weave those ends in again. So just like we did when we attached the strands for the bra band, we're just going to make sure that these are super, super tight so that nothing comes undone. I mean, I have knotted this on, but I'm going to knot it again, just through the back here, through the existing knot or through the top of the chain, just to make sure that it's knotted on itself as well, because I just don't like the idea of this ever coming undone on anybody. There we go. So it's nice and secure, and then we can weave those ends in as we did before. Now, if you would like to line your bra cups, I do have instructions over on my website as to how you can do that, which gives you kind of ideas of how to duplicate the size of the cups in material and how to pin them, because it's probably a little bit tricky when you're using a stretchy fabric. Most definitely you'd need to have tried it on before you line them to kind of make sure that you've got the right stretch in your cup for your own size. But apart from that, your Bella bralette is pretty much finished. Now, I hope you've really enjoyed this tutorial. I'd love to know if you've had to adjust the cups and how you did it, how many chains you started with for a really good fit. And I hope that you enjoy wearing your Bella bralette throughout this summer and rock it with as much confidence as you can. Join me again for another crochet tutorial in the near future, including the corresponding shorts for the Bella bralette. They are coming very soon.